So my whole life, I was always an underachiever. I had a stunning 2.5 GPA in high school, greatly to my mom's disappointment. But I really liked hanging out with serious students. And when it came to dating, national merit scholars were my type. I liked guys with really big SAT scores. That's what I was into. The kind of guys who read serious literature and saw serious films, not movies, but films, that they would drag me to for my intellectual betterment. I saw The Pianist, which is a movie with a hilarious title, but it is not hilarious. Fair warning, not a lot of laughs in that one. By the time I graduated high school, though, I felt like I've seen enough documentaries, I've had my grammar corrected enough times, I'm ready for something different. So when I went to college, I decided I wanted to date somebody like me, another underachiever. And the first day of college, I met Kurt. And I knew right away that Kurt was the underachiever I was looking for. And first, because his name was Kurt. I mean, if your first name is Kurt and your last name isn't Vonnegut, you're probably not the greatest mind of your generation. Let's just be honest. Sorry to any Kurts in the audience tonight. Second, because we met at a party, and it wasn't the kind of party where you talked about, documentaries and art. It was the kind of party where you did cake stands and you bonged beers. And then third, because our first conversation that we ever had was him telling me a story about the time that he got arrested for open container and how hilarious and awesome it was and how it was totally worth it. And that was when I knew this is the one. This is the one I've been waiting for. And when I looked into his beautiful hazel eyes, I knew I would never read another book by an author named Jonathan again. And it was an amazing time in my life. I saw the movie Dodgeball with no shame. I watched an entire season of Family Guy in one sitting. I drank way too much natural light. I ate my weight in Gushers fruit snacks. It was incredible. It was an amazing time. But after a while, I started to wonder, though, if maybe Kurt was a little bit too much fun. There was this night when I woke up to this very warm and wet feeling. And I realized that Kurt had had so much to drink that he had wet the bed with me in it. And so I got up, I woke him up, I said, "Kurt, you wet the bed, you gotta go back to your room and change while I change the sheets." He comes back, and he has taken out his contacts and put on glasses, but he is still wearing the urine-soaked clothes. I said, "Kurt, you did the wrong thing, you gotta go back." But even after this, though, if I had to pinpoint the exact moment when I really realized that things were going downhill, it was the moment when I was sitting in my dorm room, minding my own business, and suddenly he ran in, jumped on me, and farted on me, and started laughing hysterically. That was the moment when I really started to wonder if we were really the same kind of person. Kurt had a dream, and his dream was to one day buy a boat and drift around aimlessly for the rest of his life, like a character from a Jimmy Buffett song. And while I, as a fellow underachiever, could certainly appreciate the appeal of this dream, part of me was finding it increasingly difficult to picture myself on this boat, eating Gushers and being farted on for the rest of my life. So I thought, what Kurt needs is a goal, right? Like, nothing too ambitious, because that wasn't what we did, but just, something that he could want to be when he grew up. So he could grow up just enough to get past the point of farting on people, and then we'd be all set. So I decided that Kurt's passion was the environment. Because who doesn't love the environment? People love whales, people love the rainforest, and plus Kurt, he played a lot of golf and he smoked a lot of weed, and that to me spoke to him being very in tune with nature. And so I suggested this to Kurt, and he good-naturedly agreed and declared a major of environmental studies. So his first class was going to be a plant biology course, and I decided to take it with him just to get him started. And plus, I needed to take a science class, any science class at all, to graduate with my degree in journalism. And this one sounded like the easiest possible A. It was called Plant Biology 101, Plants and People. It doesn't get more straightforward than that. I'd seen plants, I knew people, I felt like I could handle this. So we go to our first day of class and we sit in the back and we're like that annoying couple that's doodling in each other's notebooks and stuff like that. And our professor comes in, Professor Glenn Matlack, and he is wearing a red flannel shirt and suspenders and big boots, and he's carrying an axe. And I keep waiting for him to mention this as part of his lecture, and he never does. Never brings it up. And the next day, he comes back wearing the same lumberjack outfit, again, never mentions it. He wears this outfit every day for the entire semester, never explains. And we're all too afraid that he might be insane to ever ask him about it. And I don't even know, like, are we allowed to have an axe on campus? That doesn't feel like it should be allowed. But as soon as I stop thinking about the axe, which he just kind of casually sets on the podium while he lectures, I start to listen to what he's talking about. And he's talking about forest fragmentation, which is this idea that, when humans expand out into the suburbs, forest gets cut up into little pieces, and this is bad because animals with large home ranges, or like the areas they roam throughout their lives, they end up going outside these fragments of forest into dangerous places for them, like roads and parking lots and backyards. And it's also bad for the forest itself because there's less interior forest and there's more edge, which means there's more light and sound permeating the forest and changing the conditions, making it uninhabitable for some species of animals and plants, and also like more susceptible to fire and pollution and invasive species and all of this shit. And this is blowing my mind because I've never heard about this before. I thought that like living in the suburbs was environmentally friendly compared to the cities. And it's totally blowing my mind that, like, despite my, recycling and my curly light bulbs and my futile vote for John Kerry, that, like, I could actually be part of the problem because of my lawn and my golf course neighborhood. And I'm just really shaken up by this. And I look over at Kurt to see if he's reacting. And he's kind of glazed over. He's either just not impressed or stoned or asleep with his eyes open. I'm not really sure. It's hard to tell the difference. So our big project in this class is to get an aerial photo of the town where we grew up from the year we were born and an aerial photo of it from the present day. And we have to kind of map out the forest cover and compare it over this 20-year time span and write this big paper about like how things have changed and how it might have affected the local environment. Kurt decides he doesn't even want to go to the trouble to get the photos, so he just makes up all the numbers for his paper and goes back to watching Family Guy. But I get super into it. I've got the photos like laid out on my dorm room floor. I've got a compass, I've got a protractor. I'm like taking meticulous notes. I'm making calculations. I'm getting very concerned about the eastern wood rat. I'm having a lot of feelings about voles. And Kurt comes in and he offers me some gushers, and I'm like, no, Kurt, I do not have time for gushers right now. I'm thinking about the Easter, like the timber rattlesnake, and like, if we lose the timber rattlesnake, what is gonna happen to the food chain? He's like, I don't fucking know, I don't care. He leaves. And I just get so into this assignment more than any other assignment that I've ever had in school. And after we turn it in, and the day when a week later Glenn Matlack is going around and passing all of our papers back to us, we see that Kurt has a D, and he's like, well, it's pretty good considering I made up all my numbers, and I agree, it's a great job. But I look at my paper, and Glenn Matlack has scrawled across the front of it in bright red ink, you have a future in this. And nobody has ever told me I had a future in anything, much less fucking plant biology, of all things. So I'm just totally shocked. It did turn out Glenn Matlack was wrong. I did not have a future in plant biology. I'm not speaking to you today as a plant biologist. But I also did not have a future on a boat with Kurt. Because what I learned was that I had it in me to work hard on something, and I wasn't meant to drift aimlessly for the rest of my life. So after college, I moved to New York, and I started a nonprofit called the Story Collider. Thank you. Which, wow, thanks. Which helps scientists tell stories about their work so that people can get as excited about science as I got in Glenn Matlack's class about plant biology. Kurt, though he lost his passion for me, did actually retain some passion for the environment. He became a park ranger, which is an occupation that leaves him plenty of time for weed and Family Guy. So I wish him very well. And that last day of Plant Biology 101 Plants and People, I got the courage to go up to Glenn Matlack. And I said to him, Professor Matlack, I have to ask you, why did you dress up as a lumberjack every day of class? And he kind of chuckled and he said, I was just fucking with you guys. Thanks.